Us from Dubai is Mr. Robin Amlot, I believe. First of all, I'd like to welcome you, Mr. Amlot, to the program. This is a very special program covering the 5th anniversary of the allegiance to the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Abdullah ibn Abdul Aziz. As an external observer, how do you see the progress here in Saudi Arabia in the economic field specifically?
Well, specifically in the economic field, of course, you cannot divorce talking about Saudi Arabia from talking about oil. That much is obvious. What we have seen is a realization in Saudi Arabia over the 5-year period you're referring to that oil is not enough. Oil on its own is not the future. Your last speaker referred to the youth of the nation. What you have now is a situation where Saudi Arabia is investing massively in infrastructure, thousands of schools being built, the 4 economic cities being built, hundreds of billions of dollars being invested to create infrastructure that was not there, that is needed for the future well-being of the country. That's terribly important, and what it will also do is reduce the reliance of the Saudi economy on oil. For example, last year in 2009, the government ran a budget deficit for the first time in several years because of the moves in the oil price. While oil gives Saudi Arabia an awful lot of wealth, you cannot have an economy that is solely reliant on oil in the future, particularly not as you have such a young population that is going to need infrastructure, is going to need jobs, is going to need industry. And that is what's been happening over the last 5 years. That realization has come, that investment has started to be made.
Interesting. Mr. Amlot, the fact that Saudi Arabia went from, if we talk about, many years ago, from a Bedouin agricultural society into a very challenging industrial society, this really requires lots of changes, lots of adaptability, and lots of work on behalf, on the part of the government and also the private sector. How do you see that happening? Is there a good balance, or is it a swift, shift or change that has shocked or overwhelmed the Saudis?
I don't think it's overwhelmed the Saudi population, but it is certainly a shock to the system. It could not be anything other. There is no other template for what's happened. If one looks around at other emerging economies, if we can put it that way, from the likes of India and China to other countries in the Gulf, nowhere has actually gone through, is going through, what's happening in Saudi Arabia, because nobody has the kind of population pressure that you have. As has already been mentioned, the population in Saudi Arabia has effectively doubled in 25 years or thereabouts. That presents a huge opportunity for the growth of the country and the growth of the economy, but it does also present huge challenges, because you actually literally have to look at a piece of real estate and create something. You have to create schools, you have to create hospitals, you have to create jobs, you have to create industry, you have to create roads and transport infrastructure. This is a massive job for the government. Fortunately, of course, Saudi Arabia does have the oil wealth with which to be able to do that.
Interesting. I'll get back to you, Mr. Amlot. Mr. طلعت حافظ, the monetary policies and regulations, and also the financial regulations, you referred to them earlier. Are they congruent with the very rapid needs of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? I mean, we have lots of projects around the kingdom. We have the economic cities. We have, as Mr. Amlot said, lots of a huge need or dire need by the young generation in various aspects. How do you think, are they really congruent? Are they compatible? Are they really are they fit to fit the needs of the current
well, let me
society?
Let me first of all agree and disagree with your guest, Mr. Amlot, on what he said, because when he said we're still relying on oil, we are Saudis, we understand and we realize the issue. And as I mentioned, that back last century, toward the end of last century, when we started creating lots of revenue, supporting revenue to the oil. But I believe for them to work all and produce, as you know, your guest has mentioned, it takes some time. You cannot do it overnight. It takes years and years of efforts. Let me give you an example. When we started the Royal Jubail and Yomba Commission back in 1975, we were talking about 9 industrial cities. Now we have more than 32 industrial cities. We were talking about investment, to pull investment of about 54 billion Saudi riyal. Now we're talking about over half a billion worth of investment. As far as the production also, we were talking about 36 metric ton. We're talking now over 100 metric ton. So things, what I'm saying to your guests, it takes some time, but we do appreciate and we do realize that the oil revenue is an issue to us because of the volatility, ups and downs. Back to your question, whether the budget really and the fiscal budget and the monetary policy, indeed, they're going parallel of what the kingdom is going through. And if you recall last year budget, in fact, I'm sorry, this year budget, 2010, where we have the record budget, 540 billion worth of investment spending, and that's more by 18% compared to last year, to 2,260 billion Saudi riyal extra to the budget that will be injected in various projects. I believe what we lack, to be honest with you and to be frank with you, is the implementation.
Right.
Yet we are not really having a smooth implementation. And from now and then you hear a project is being, having a problem in execution, not because from the fund point of view or for the funding point of view, but from the execution part. And this is, of course, would reflect negatively not only on the country economy, if you will, not only on the GDP, but also reflect on us as people.
Sure.
When the, for example, the sewage system is not complete, the road system is not complete, the water system is not right to fit. As your guest and UAE mentioned, that we are a youth society, so we need schools, we need health, we need sewage system, real estate, blah blah blah, housing. So this is where the challenges lies, and I believe. Remember when we had this deficit some time ago, before year 2000. When the oil prices, they went down in the 90s below $10 a barrel, we did not have money at that time to support the project. Now we have the money. We cannot really, as you mentioned, go at the same pace in executing our project, and this is why we're having difficulties and certain problems. But I believe the government took a very wise decision to open up for international contractors to come to the country, as in the 70s, no harm. Why we should be shy? We did it in the 70s, and it worked very well. Hand by hand, side by side, by the local contractors, just to execute a major contracts that's going on in the country. Excellent,
Mr. Amlet, back to you. Where do you think, or has Saudi Arabia, in your opinion, succeeded in placing itself or positioning itself in the advanced, industrial countries, or is it getting there?
I think, honestly, the answer has to be it's a case of getting there. What has happened, of course, in the last few years is that Saudi Arabia has taken a seat at the top table, if you like. It's now an established member of the G20 group of nations, which, of course, has been meeting rather more significantly and rather more frequently, perhaps, than it might have done had we not had the major financial crisis of the last couple of years. But Saudi Arabia now has a seat at the table that it didn't have 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It is now taken very seriously as a major player in world affairs, and not just because it has oil, but because it is a serious economy. It is a case still, though, as I said, of getting there. The journey is not complete. You do, as your studio guest was saying, have projects underway, things that are not finished. It's going to take another 5 years, another 10 years before the population you have now, the young population you have, has the infrastructure it needs, has the jobs it needs, and of course is also creating the jobs. This is a subject I think you and I have talked about in the past, the need for an entrepreneurial spirit, the need for a job creation spirit in Saudi Arabia. We've talked about that in the past. It's something that the young population in Saudi Arabia has got to take on. The torch has got to be carried forward in that sense.
Mr. Robin Amlet, thank you very much for sharing this happy time with us here in Saudi Arabia. Thank you.